Hello, welcome to module number 4. In this module, we are going to learn how to do macro programming. By looking at these two words, usually people get scared, including me, uh, because the words macro and programming sound a little scary to biology and chemistry professionals most often, and of course, people who have never done any kind of programming in their life. But I will assure you that it is a very simple and straightforward process. It just requires a few mouse clicks, doesn't require a big deep knowledge about Java programming or any other thing like that. So you can sit at ease and just observe what I am doing. Okay, so before we begin, let us understand what is a macro. A macro is a simple program that automates a series of image commands, image or fg commands. But for example, if you have an image like this, where there is a lot of background and noise in this image, which is red and green color, and you want to process this image, make it smooth and nice, and then eventually calculate the intensities in each endosome here, for example, and then you want to process it and then pull out the data about intensities in each endosome. So this requires a lot of steps, and if you start doing clicking for each image, then on an average for each image you will have to do on I would say about 50 clicks, and if you have 10 such images, then you are already having some finger pains because you have been clicking 500 times. So how can we automate that? So the macro programming can allow you to do that. So in this case, if we want to produce a good publication quality image, what we will have to do is to remove some background and noise. Looking at the two images, it might seem the processed image is worse compared to the original image, but if we actually zoom in, then you will see the difference, that the original image had a bit of noise and some bit of background here and there. I have removed the noise by using a bandpass filter and the background using a rolling ball background subtraction method. So that way I can get a much better quality image. And then once I have this kind of image, then I can do something called image processing to generate a heat map like this, where the ratio between the two colors can be showed as a heat map from 0 to any value, whatever you find the range to be good for this display. And that way, looking at the image itself, you can say, oh, here there is a ratio is low and here the ratio is high, and that way you can basically show the data in a very visual fashion. And lastly, based upon image processing like this, you can pull out the information about the ratio of the intensities for each of these compartments and plot a histogram. So how do we automate all of this process, at least till this step? This last part, once you have the data, then you can use a program like Excel to do it pretty well. So let's see how we can do the first few steps. So on the website you can find this image and you can download the original image, this one, and you can also find a macro called ratio.ijm, image j macro. So we will download that and open it in image j. So this is our image, and in order to open the macro, you download and drag and drop on this window. And as you can see, this is a pretty elongated program which I have written. Don't worry, the program can be written just by a few clicks. How? So for example, if I want to do any kind of processing on this image, like I want to split this into two channels, for example, or maybe I want to duplicate. So let's see, if we go here, plugins, macro, and record. So it will open a window which is going to record everything I do. So for example, if I select this window and I go to here and image and duplicate, and I call this as duplicate like this, you see it wrote a line for me, like whatever I did is written here. Next, if I want to say suppose do some kind of background subtraction, So for example, here subtract background and pixels and say OK, and you see it ran that and it wrote a code like this. So same way, all the lines written here are written by this macro programmer itself. So my life is very easy, and that way I can simplify my life and let the image write codes for me. And once this is ready, then all I have to do is to create, and now I have a command line like this. And for example, let me really quick run it on this image. So this is the image, it is the code I wrote, and if I run this, there you go. You can see that within a few seconds I got both the commands run together back to back. So same way, what we will do is to see what analysis I have written here for. Okay, so if we run the code, you see that it split the two channels, and it is asking me to identify the numerator channel. So I will select the red channel here in this case, say OK. It renamed it to numerator, and then second one it also does that, and it did all the analysis really quick. And here is my processed image. Here is the merge color image which has been smoothened out, and it is also allowing me to select the data from all the channels. So for example, here you can see that it has done the endosome selection for me, and it has also added all the region of interest into this ROI manager, region of interest manager. And I can simply go to image like this and deselect ones, and say for example, if I measure, so there it is. I have the numbers for all the compartments, like 231 such compartments in the red channel. And same way I can do the repeat analysis using the same set of region of interest to measure the intensities in the green channel, and put all of that data into Excel sheet, and then take the ratio of the intensities which are given here. So you see how fast this programming can help me. It can enhance my speed of analysis so much. So let's see what all can we do here. Okay, so the steps that I followed here was, first of all, I identify my goal. We have to start with the end in the mind. Goal is to measure the intensities in the endosomes, produce a merged image and ratio image with the scale bar, and also have these things ready so that I can maybe quickly visualize the image, and if it is looking good, only then I will copy paste the data, and with the scale bar of course. So how we do it? We open the image, rename it with a generic name, so that because sometimes the file could be of any random name. So let's really quick have a look at the macro also in parallel. Okay, so if you see here, the first step is to open the image. You can drag and drop and then rename it to generic name. You can see here, rename stack. It is going to rename the stack to a generic name. Then it is going to split the channels, which is here. Then band pass filter and background subtraction. So before I do that, I have to identify which one is numerator channel, which one is denominator channel, which is done by this command. Says wait for user, select numerator channel as press OK. Whatever you write in here, the program doesn't read it, it just reads as a text. Okay, once you say OK, then it is going to rename that as numerator, and same way for denominator, and then run a band pass filter. So this command I could get by using the same macro recording part in the image as we saw a few minutes ago, and whatever parameters I selected, for example, filter large, filter small, anything larger than this will be filtered out, anything smaller than this will be filtered out. So those kinds of things are used for smoothing the denominator image. Next is running a background subtraction, which is the rolling ball background subtraction. And if you see here, anything which is written in green will not be read by the computer. It will be just ignored. So the way to do it would be, if I want to, for example, not want this line to be read, you just to put two forward slashes like this. And if you want to not let the computer read anything here, you start with a slash, put a star and then slash. Anything in between will not be read. Okay, anyway, getting back here, all of these steps whatever I have written is the things which I was anyway going to do manually. So all of those things I have put together in this program, and that way all of the steps whatever I was doing manually is done automatically by the computer program. And towards the end, if you see here, I have also included a few lines which also close the windows. So there will be a lot of unnecessary windows that will be opened, which will confuse the heck out of the user. So that's why we have to also select the windows which are unnecessary and make them close. And that way my life becomes very easy and the code can be written in a straightforward way. All those commands can be easily found using the macro program recording module. Also, if you are still looking for some special codes, you can always go to the image website, the macro coding website, and there you can find a lot of different kinds of these yellow colored lines which you can always copy paste, or you can look for blogs on the internet. I personally had no idea about microcoding, but because there was a need, because every day I was acquiring about 20 GB of data, so if I was trying to do the analysis by myself, then I would still be doing a PhD. But because I learned this kind of programming by reading blogs, by watching videos like this, or asking around people how to do and what to do, I was able to learn this. If I could do it, you can do it too. That's all I can say. Okay, so with that, these are some useful bits of codes which you can use. For example, this line will help you to get the title of the image and use it for processing. If you want to select the window, this is what I have used in my program a lot of times. This allows you to put a break to the program and allow the user to interfere with the image, and so on and so forth. And in case if you want to do some kind of loops, run some kind of loops like this, you can also do that. And these are some of the shortcut codes. How did I figure these out? So if you see the image software, whenever you go to any command here, you see here, for example, for cropping, Control plus Shift plus X. So in Windows, Control pressing is also not needed, only Shift plus X. For duplicating, Shift plus D. So all of these commands are already written there, so that your analysis can become very fast. So I hope that I gave you a good enough overview. This macro is free to download from the website, and you can use this, read through the macro, and kind of look into it and try to understand how this thing is written. Make sure that there are no syntax errors, of course, like you don't forget to put the semicolon like this, or you don't have spaces, random spaces and things like that. If you have any other further questions with regard to macro programming, you can feel free to reach out to me on my email address, and I would be happy to help. With that, happy imaging.